Oklahoma lawmakers appear intent on limiting or ending the last tax break for large wind farms. Governor Fallin also wants to add a production tax for every kilowatt of electricity wind towers generate. All this comes as Oklahoma jumps to the third largest wind power state in the nation.
Oklahoma now has 6,645 megawatts of wind power capacity. Only Texas and Iowa have more. Nearly 25% of Oklahoma's total electrical output is now from wind. A big part of that growth has come from state and federal incentives. The federal tax breaks are slowly being phased out, and now Oklahoma lawmakers are looking at capping or eliminating the zero-emission tax credit.
That is set to sunset in 2021. That date is going to be accelerated. I can't stand before you today and tell you exactly what date that's going to be, but it will be accelerated.
Talk of ending the tax credit began more than a year ago after, according to published reports, Continental Resources CEO Harold Hamm launched a campaign to end the state's tax incentives for wind power. Hamm's efforts were through a group called Windfall Coalition, which called for leveling the playing field between wind and natural gas by putting a production tax on wind and eliminating other tax breaks. Another group Hamm was reportedly tied to is called Wind Waste, which runs a website filled with information about how wind harms Oklahoma. We requested an interview with Mr. Hamm and Wind Waste, but there was never any response. The Windfall Coalition handout cites figures showing how much the zero-emission tax credit is costing the state and how much the state has had to pay out in ad valorem tax reimbursements because of wind's property tax exemption. However, a report on the impact of wind energy on Oklahoma from the state chamber shows the wind industry has been a boon to the state's property tax revenues. Kevin Sims, superintendent of Minco Public Schools, knows about that firsthand.
We probably wouldn't have the extensive building we've had in our district without the wind towers.
Superintendent Sims says without the benefit of the wind towers that can now be seen from about anywhere in Minco, students would still be going here for classes. A little over a year ago, they moved into this building.
The value of our district's valuation skyrocketed from $14 million to where it's at $48 million right now, and the majority of that is based on the value of the wind towers.
Minco Public Schools used their increased bonding ability to not only build a new high school, but new sports facilities and a new 1,000-seat auditorium that is state-of-the-art.
Where there are wind towers, you see a lot of school districts that are building. They're able to do that, and that is a great benefit for us.
Facing yet another huge budget deficit for next fiscal year, lawmakers are searching for new revenue streams. For David Blatt, executive director of the Oklahoma Policy Institute, the zero-emission tax is one of them.
The costs of other tax breaks are certainly rising as well, including the Investment New Jobs Credit, the Quality Jobs programs, the zero-emission tax credit for wind producers and others, and the ad valorem manufacturing exemption.
However, Blatt points to one tax break in particular that is far ahead of all others in its price tag to state coffers.
In fiscal year 2015, these tax breaks peaked at $609 million. That's declined a little bit with lower energy prices, but we're still looking at over $450 million this year.
But so far, there has been no discussion of changes to gross production taxes on oil and gas, even though Senate President Pro Tem Mike Schultz has said,
discussions are going on currently about revenue-raising measures. What do those look like at this point? Everything's on the table.
What is on the table now is a plan from Governor Fallin to put a production tax on electricity generated by wind. In her executive budget, Governor Fallin calls for a half a penny per kilowatt tax.
A half cent per kilowatt hour at current prices for wind energy equals 25%. We feel it's completely unsustainable, and it would absolutely kill the wind energy market and drive jobs out of the state.
Johnson Bridgewater is director of the Oklahoma chapter of the Sierra Club. He says if this tax is approved, it won't be wind tower owners who pay for it.
This tax is going to impact those who are most vulnerable. So we know that this is going to eventually end up in people's electricity bills.
All this discussion about taxes on wind energy comes as the 2017 Sustainable Energy in America Factbook has been released. It shows that an increasing number of coal power plants are being shut down as two renewable forms of energy are booming, solar and wind. It also shows that for the first time, there are scores of energy storage projects underway across the country that is seen as the holy grail of renewable energy, since the wind does not always blow and the sun does not always shine. The Sustainable Energy Factbook also shows Oklahoma has yet to put into place the financing plan that is spreading solar power across many other states. It also now appears that a tax on wind has become the legislature's favored way to fund a teacher pay raise.